So thanks you everyone for joining us. First of all, I want to let you know that the program is being recorded today and will be posted on the club's website. And also thank you for those who sent over questions. If you have any additional questions, feel free to use the Q&A function. And you can upvote questions too. So if everyone really wants one question, we'll be able to ask it. And since we're on a webinar, you'll only be able to see the hosts. So if you also want to put in questions to the chat function, that's fine as well. So my name is Nicole Cantarelli. I graduated from UVA, the class of 2018 from the college. And I'm one of the co-chairs of the UVA Club of DC Sports Committee. And I am joined by Ben Gomez, who was the class of 2011, also from the college. So I have a little bio on Veronica. So Veronica Latsko plays as a forward for the Houston Dash in the National Women's Soccer League and Sydney FC in the Australian Women's League. She is a 2018 BATTEN School graduate from UVA. During her college career from 2014 to 2017, she appeared in every game for Virginia. In 2017, she tied the UVA single game record for points and was an all-ACC first team selection. Veronica was selected by the Houston Dash in the 2018 National Women's Soccer League College Draft. And on March 24th, she signed with the club and made her debut the following day against the Chicago Red Stars. She scored her first career goal on May 18th against Sky Blue FC, and her goal was the game-winning goal in the 3-2 win for Houston. And I'll hand it over to Ben and Veronica to continue talking.
Thanks, Nicole. I appreciate it. And thank you, Veronica, for taking the time to talk with us this afternoon. I imagine y'all are pretty busy getting ready for the fall series, so we appreciate the time.
Yeah, no, I'm anything from my fellow Wahoos. I'm super proud UVA alum.
So why don't we start out with, you know, how are you and your family doing during this time? You know, how are y'all keeping up? Just, you know, from a personal standpoint, you know, during all of, you know, this kind of new normal that we're in, you know, how are you and how are your family doing?
I mean, my family's doing awesome. They're up in Pittsburgh right now, so it's nothing really too out of the ordinary. I only really get to see them like 1 week out of the year. So being apart isn't something that we're not too familiar with. But yeah, I mean, I'm doing pretty well. Again, it's different. Definitely not having a typical season and having games every week that you're used to. But I mean, for the most part, we have practice every day and it's pretty regular schedule now. So, I mean, I would say I'm doing pretty well right now.
No, that's great to hear. You know, we would love to hear that. And you kind of mentioned the team and you know, how the team's doing, how you're doing. So how are y'all settling in? You know, obviously you had the tournament in Utah, the NWSL Challenge Cup, and now y'all are back for the fall series. How are y'all kind of settling in, you know, with the tournament, with, you know, with training in kind of this new environment?
So I guess for us, when we were in the bubble, everything was very, very strict in terms of always wearing your mask, always using hand sanitizer, social distancing. So we got very used to not really seeing anybody or doing much outside of playing. And that routine has kind of just carried over into our Houston lives. So we don't do a whole lot out of our training sessions. Like occasionally we'll go grab a cup of coffee and like sit outside somewhere for some time. But yeah, for the most part, it's just training, getting COVID tests, and repeat and getting ready for the games. So, I mean, yeah, for the most part, we're just all very grateful to be able to play the sport that we love because a lot of people can't say the same. So that's pretty much how we are here.
Absolutely, and I'm sure y'all are excited to kind of get back on the field for the upcoming games. But let's turn back the clock a little. Let's talk a little about UVA and your time there. So what went into your decision to attend UVA and play soccer there?
So for me, when I was coming out of high school and looking into my college experience, I really wanted a really great academic school. So that was kind of number one priority on my list, was I wanted to get an amazing education in addition to having an incredible soccer experience. And there are a lot of schools that you have the education piece, but the soccer piece not so much, or their sports world in the college isn't as great as like the academic standard. And then there's vice versa, where you have an incredible sports program, but the academics just aren't quite there. So for me, UVA was the perfect world where I get both things. And even within UVA, I got to find a major that I was incredibly passionate about and further my education in that regard. And I think it sets me up for post soccer, which is not something I typically try to dwell on because live in the moment while we can. But yeah, for me, that was the biggest decision, was somewhere I can get the best education and also the best soccer experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think that's why a lot of people choose UVA beyond, you know, with a lot of the other sports as well. Do you have any, you know, favorite memories from when you were playing at UVA, whether it be, you know, on the field, off the field? Is there any, you know, moment or two that kind of sticks out to you?
I mean, there's a ton of moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is definitely the best decision I've ever made in my entire life, was to go to the University of Virginia. And I brag about it all the time, so don't worry. But I will definitely say, one, making it to the national championship game my first year at UVA was incredible, and it set the standard very high for subsequent years. So for me, just being on the national stage my first year that I'm playing at this school was incredible. And even though it was heartbreaking to lose that game, just the emotions that went into it and the connections that I made with the girls on the team at the time, it's unforgettable. So that was definitely a huge moment for me. Also graduating was incredible, because I didn't think that I was going to be able to get to our graduation on time. It was like a weekend where we had a game with the Houston Dash. So I was already away from campus at the time, doing my last semester a bit remote. And I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to make graduation, because graduation for BATTEN is on a Sunday. And we had a game against Utah in Utah Saturday afternoon. So that was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to find a red eye to get me there to graduation on time, because all the people are going to Trinity and Boylan at like 6 a.m. And I was like, definitely can't meet you guys there. But I was grateful. I was like, okay, like I'll take a red eye from Utah to Denver and then Denver to DC. And then my parents met me in DC and just drove down to UVA, and we got there right as everybody was walking up to go to the rotunda. And I was like, perfect timing. I am running on zero sleep, and it's great. I at least have my cap on the right way. So yeah, that was a pretty amazing moment as well.
No, I'm sure that was exciting, and you know, having to, you know, playing there for 4 years, and you know, I'm sure there's so many more memories. And with the 30th anniversary of Klockner coming up in 2022, can you talk a little bit about, you know, what it was like to play there, you know, for your 4 years, you know, and the fan support?
I mean, to this day, I think Klockner might be one of my favorite stadiums, and I've played in stadiums all over the world, and am able to appreciate the beauty in the different stadiums of where I've been at. But Klockner, just, there's something about the way the architecture is designed and the way that it feels so intimate. Even if there's like 8,000 people there, you feel all of the people that are there. And it's amazing. Like the amount of support that we would get at our home games was something that I don't think many, if not most people, get during their college career, let alone like even professionally. I would say that the crowds have definitely rivaled some of the professional level games that I've played in. So and it also helps that like everybody's die hard go Who's and bleeds orange and blue. So I love it. I've loved every moment I got to play on that field.
Yeah, and with so many, UVA players, and including yourself, going on to play in NWSL and internationally, what's it like to be a part of, kind of a great legacy of players that have come out of UVA? I guess, a couple names come to mind, that I'm sure you're familiar with: Zoe Morse, who you played against in the championship, and Danielle Colaprico as well. But then you have, Becky Sauerbrunn and others. What's it like to kind of be a part of that, long legacy?
I mean, I guess I don't really think about it that way, or at least view it myself as part of that legacy. Like, I can objectively stand back and be like, oh my gosh, like the UVA women's soccer program is incredible because look at all of these amazing individuals that they produce, not only in the soccer landscape, but in other professional landscapes. So, I mean, for me, I don't really see myself as like, oh, like I'm part of a UVA women's soccer legacy. It's like, oh, I'm just kind of living my dream right now. And I love what I do at the moment. So I'm kind of just living in the moment with that. But yeah, I mean, I guess if I take a step back, it's incredible to be part of something like this, but I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I am today without the support network and obviously Coach Swanson and everything that he's done for me in my career. And I bet most of the girls can say that as well.
Absolutely. And speaking of Coach Swanson, do you still keep in touch with him and any of the other coaches, since you've been drafted and moved to Houston?
Oh yeah, no, Steve is incredible. And I think he probably messages me at least once a month just to check in on me. And then of course our team has always been close. So I still am in contact with all the players. Actually just talked to Morgan Bryan today. We just like random messages that you'll communicate with one another and trying to figure out when we'll all see each other next. And yeah, everybody, it's a very close-knit family and I love being a part of it.
No, that's great to hear. And did you during your time, did you ever get former players coming back to grounds and players that had graduated previously to train or to attend games or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we would have girls that have gone off professionally come back and train with us during the spring season because it was a nice little preseason for the NWSL. So we would have Danny and Mo come back all the time to train with us. There would just be a lot of girls that would come back to grounds, even just for random events, like the young alumni reunion and any kind of big UVA women's soccer game that we were having. So pretty much anytime we played Florida State, that was a big time for them to come back. But yeah, no, everybody is very close. And I know it's unfortunate with COVID going and happening right now that we can't really meet and gather at UVA at this time, but everybody's done pretty well to stay connected over the internet and Zoom and whatnot.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I guess when was the last time you did make it back to Charlottesville, and were there any local spots that you needed to hit?
Oh, it's been a second since I've been back to Charlottesville. Unfortunately, last year I went straight from Houston to Australia, so I didn't have time to make it back. Normally I do, but I think the last time may have been maybe in March a year or two ago. So I still have some teammates and friends that are living in Charlottesville / the DC area. So it's always good to go back and see them and see Steve and the team. But I would say for local spots, I'm a big fan of Juice Laundry. That became like a big hit when I was like a sophomore or junior and just love it. Trying to think where else. Boylan, love getting a good burger at Boylan. I'm not sure if it's still around or not. It's been
I think it is. I hope it is.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much. And like, also, I love going to the lawn. It's one of my favorite places to go, is back to the lawn and just hanging out there. It's just such a beautiful campus. It's nice to appreciate.
No, that's brings me back to my time there as well. So, well, let's transition to a little bit on your professional career, your time with the Dash. So, what knowing that you had obviously played soccer your entire life, played 4 years at UVA, what was the feeling like being drafted and kind of becoming a professional in a sport that you played and you competed in your entire life?
Well, I mean, for the people that know me, I wasn't sure if I was going to get drafted or not. It was only 40 girls got drafted at the time. I didn't consider myself to be a big name coming out of college. I was not expecting it, and I was hoping for it, obviously. But I kind of wanted to make sure that I was okay if I didn't get drafted or if I didn't make one of the teams if I were to have gone and tried out. So I was planning on going to law school right after college if the whole professional soccer thing didn't work out. Fortunately, it did, and I'm still here because I can't imagine hanging up the boots yet. But yeah, it was pretty surreal. I didn't watch the draft because I was terrified, and I didn't want to like sit through 3 hours and waiting for somebody to call my name and then get to the end and then not say anything. So I was actually grocery shopping at the time. Yeah. And I got a random call from a Houston number, and they were like, "Hey, Veronica, it's the coach here at Houston, and we're going to pick you in the next 30 seconds. So get ready and we'll see you in Houston in a week." And I was like, "Okay, sounds great. That's awesome." Yeah, pretty much freaked out. Don't think I could drive home for like an hour because I was just like freaking out, and yeah, just so excited. I had zero cool or chill about it. Yeah.
And did you know anything about the Dash beforehand, before getting drafted, or I mean, knowing that there's 9 teams at the time, I think there was 9 teams in NWSL, and obviously, it didn't sound like you were kind of looking that route. But had you done any research on the teams or anything like that on knowing where you may go?
I mean, honestly, I didn't think that Houston was going to really even be in my realm of possibilities. I was thinking more local, so like Sky Blue, which is in New Jersey, or the Spirit in DC. It's because I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm a Virginia product. I'm a Northeastern girl. I'm probably going to end up in the Northeast somewhere. Didn't really expect to be living in Houston for the next 3 years / 4 years of my life. And I'm not mad about it. It's turned into a nice home for me. So the Houston girl now.
That's great to hear. No, I'm originally from Houston as well, so I appreciate that.
Yes.
So what, knowing that you've been in the league a few years, what did you take from your time at UVA that you carried to the Dash, to the NWSL, to Australia? Any learnings, whether it be off the field, on the field, that you've kind of, carried with you to your professional career?
I guess for me, it could apply to both on and off the field. UVA is an incredible academic and athletic institute, and you see the people that it produces both on and off the field. So I kind of recognized as both a person and player that I might not be the most brilliant genius in the class, which I obviously was not because I was in BATTEN, and they're incredible individuals who I look up to this day. And then also on the field, you're playing with the likes of Becky Sauerbrunn and Morgan Bryan and Emily Sonnet, and just these incredibly skillful, fast, athletic, talented individuals. So not only is it like a little bit humbling, but it's also, well, what can I bring to the table that is tangible, and I can bring it every single day, regardless of how I'm feeling or how my first touch is on the ball or any other outside factors. And for me, that was my work ethic and my hard work. And I look at how I am as a person and a player, and I give absolutely everything to what I am devoting my energy to. So I will always want to be the hardest working player on the field every time I step on the field. So whether it be practice, games, the weight room, or even just in my daily life. So any kind of organization or activities that I'm involved in, they're getting 100% of my effort all the time. So there's no break when I'm doing something. And that's kind of something that I learned from UVA. It's that mentality of, hey, this is what you can bring to the table, and your hard work is this incredible attribute that is going to take you places. And it showed me that it could take me places while I was at UVA and post-grad as well.
Yeah, and talking about that hard work and obviously, attending BATTEN, at leadership school, how do you see yourself, your role as an athlete, kind of, and a citizen in today's world, with everything going on, the platform that you have, the platform that NWSL has, how do you see that, weaving in with kind of what we see going on in today's world?
I think that it's an incredible opportunity for me and players in my similar situation to use their platform to promote social justice and promote the issues that are going on in our world right now. I know a lot of times that it's often thought that like athletes, or people have said that athletes should just play the sport and that's what we should do. But I think that it's generally being turned on its head, that we are coming from very prestigious academic institutes where we were taught to think as well as to play our sport. And we were able to do it at the same time when we were in school. And I think that we've all grown and matured that we can do it at the same time while we're in our day-to-day lives. So I think that given everything that's going on and given how diverse the circle is that we play, I think it's given us an opportunity to have really difficult conversations with our Black teammates and individuals that we don't have the same perspectives or experience as, and able to promote their experiences and to share their experiences in a way that we didn't do prior.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also great to see the new, team in LA, with NWSL, with, the leadership of the women organizing that team as well. So it's a lot of, kind of bright future ahead for the league as well. So speaking of NWSL and Challenge Cup, can you talk a little bit about, what that was like, and with NWSL being the first league, first American league to start up since, COVID kind of put a pause on everything. What was that like with y'all kind of, being the first, athletes to get back on the field, the court, et cetera, in competing?
I guess for us, it was pretty incredible because it kind of put the NWSL on a platform and a stage that was bigger than what we typically are on. And a huge credit to our commissioner, Lisa Baird, who is absolutely brilliant and organized this entire thing with so many different sponsors being brought in and making the bubble feel as professional as possible, because it was a really, really difficult 4 weeks. And those 4 weeks felt like 4 months, honestly. And I think any player will tell you that the mental toll that bubble took was far greater than any physical taxing activity that we did. So a huge credit to the NWSL and our commissioner for setting us up to be in the best arena and in the safest arena possible. We didn't have any positive COVID results during our entire time there, which I think is incredible. And honestly, everybody just felt really safe in the bubble. Like, we not once did it cross our minds that we were putting our lives in danger while we were participating in Utah during that time. and we all just felt very at ease. And when you're at ease, you're going to play well because you're comfortable, which is why everybody was able to see such brilliant soccer being played. And again, I might be biased because the brilliant soccer being played won us a championship. So,
well, speaking of that, so I know the Dash have been kind of building the team the last few years, and obviously, you know, James coming on board, a lot of the new players, including yourself. So what were, you know, y'all's expectations, you know, entering the tournament? You know, did y'all plan on winning the tournament, or what was kind of the team's mentality and the team's, plans heading in?
Well, like you said, we had a very new team look this year, and I think that really helped us set a new standard for the Dash, because every year prior, we were always pushing to be a playoff team. And this year, we wanted to switch that mentality, and we wanted to be a championship team. We didn't want to settle for making the top 4 and getting into the playoffs. We wanted to be the team that won it all, and we wanted to win every single game that we went into and win this entire tournament and turn what people typically thought of as the Houston Dash completely on its head. And I think we did that, and we're continuing to strive and change the narrative of the Houston Dash.
Was there a point in the tournament where you thought we can win this? Or, you know, was there a particular moment or game that was like, we got this?
It was actually it's funny you say that, because during the quarterfinals, so this is like the first knockout rounds where PKs come into effect, we went tied 0-0 in the full time, and I was on the field with my roommate, and she looked at me as we were setting up to go and take our PKs, and she said, "We're going to win this thing." And I looked at her and I was like, "You're right. We're going to win all of it. We're going to win the whole thing." Like, it was just like a feeling of, we've got this. And I think everybody on our team felt that. And I think that's what helped us, 1, win the PK shootout, and 2, push on and win the rest of the entire tournament.
And what did it mean to win the Challenge Cup, you know, both for you personally and the team? Because I know, obviously, you know, all the other players, you know, all the work y'all put in the off season, during the season, you know, to kind of come to fruition at that point, and then also for the city of Houston.
So for us, though, we had probably probably like a 4 to 5 week preseason where we just killed our bodies and made sure that we were going to be one of the fittest teams on the field by the time we got to Utah, and I think that showed. But for us, winning it was just a culmination of, wow, like all of our work and hard work actually paid off. And our teammates and I were talking after we won it, and we were looking back and we were like, we haven't won anything in a very long time. Because you look back and you're like, when's the last time you won a major championship? Mm-hmm. And for the most part, unless you won an NCAA tournament championship, most of us were like our high school days, so like 10 years ago. And I was like, we've been losers for 10 years. So now it's about time we are champions. And so all of us are just like, yeah, we're champions, and we're going to ride this championship title until the day we die. And it's exciting. It's fun. We'll still look around and we'll just be like, we're winners. It's great. But yeah, no, I loved my time at UVA, but we lost a lot of finals. So it's pretty heartbreaking, but yeah, it's good to finally be on top.
Well, hopefully many more championships, you know, for y'all in the coming seasons. So.
Yes.
Well, looking ahead to the fall series that y'all have upcoming with the 4 games. So I know Rachel Daly, I believe, is on loan to West Ham. So how is the team's going to change, you know, with her out of the lineup, if at all? How are y'all kind of approaching that?
I mean, obviously Rachel is an incredible player. She won MVP of the tournament and Golden Boot. And she's an incredible person as well. So missing her on our team is definitely a challenge that we have to try to overcome. The good thing is she's always in constant contact with our team, so it doesn't feel like a huge gap in our leadership has left. And I also think it provides an opportunity for other girls to step up into a larger role. And there is going to be times next year where Rachel isn't going to be around because the Olympics are happening, and hopefully she's going to be playing with England's national team, and we'll have to figure out how to step up during that time as well. So this is almost a nice little prelude into what we might see next year and the times to come for when she isn't around.
Absolutely. And speaking of kind of international play, you've had an opportunity to play overseas in Australia for Adelaide United and Sydney FC. What was that experience like? Getting to play in a different country, different league, different players, obviously.
I mean, I loved Australia. I loved my time in Adelaide. I loved my time in Sydney. I don't think I have one negative thing to say about it. I think everybody should go and visit Australia. I know it's very difficult, one, during this time, and two, just in general, because it's halfway around the world. So I understand the difficulty, but it is beautiful there, and the people are amazing, and the food is incredible, and it's just an experience that I will never forget and I will always cherish. So for me, the soccer was just another added bonus of being able to be in this beautiful country and play soccer year round, which is, I think, is every person's dream, at least in the professional soccer landscape. So yeah, Australia was amazing, and that's pretty much the most I have to say about it. If you can go, definitely do it.
Well, and you've been able to play, obviously, in multiple leagues with, a lot of different players, and have had exposure to a bunch of players that have played at UVA over the years. Is there someone or multiple players that you model your game after, or that you kind of look up to?
I mean, there's definitely a lot of players that I could list off that I look up to. Pretty much every UVA alum that has passed through, I look at them and I'm like, the amount of hard work that you've put in to get better, it's just, it's unreal. So even when they were at the highest level, they're with the U.S. Women's National Team. You'll see Morgan Bryan and Emily Sonnet and Danny Colaprico still training and doing extra stuff outside of practice, like for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, just hitting long balls, taking shots, trying to just perfect anything that they can to get their game to the next level, which you're like, how can you even get higher in your play? You're amazing. And they're just always striving to be better. And that's something that I look up to immensely. Is I think everyone can strive to be better in some aspect of their game. And if I'm talking about the way that players play and how I'd like to emulate it, I would definitely say Sam Kerr on the Australia women's national team. She is an incredible player. She plays for Chelsea right now in the FAWSL, and the way she plays soccer is just so fluid, and she does the simple things perfectly, which I think every forward from young to my age and older can look at and say, hey, yeah, if you perfect the simplest actions as a forward, you're going to score goals. And she shows that.
Absolutely. And I know I touched a little bit about on the new team in LA. What impact do you think that will have on the league as a whole, especially with, the high profile leadership that they've brought in? How do you think that'll impact NWSL and women's soccer?
I think it's just going to help the game expand at an exponential rate. I think that already the NWSL is gaining so much traction since the World Cup to now. It's even with COVID happening, we were able to get unprecedented viewership during all of our games during the Challenge Cup, not just the first game or the last game. It was all of our viewership was incredible numbers. And I want to say our last game for the championship was 600,000. I'm not quite sure of the number exactly, but it was one of the highest watch matches of all time, including out of the MLS. So for us, it's building off of that traction and momentum. And I think LA coming in at that time where it's going to be organized, it has the backers that you've talked about that are very prominent in society in multiple aspects. So it's just going to grow the game and help it grow from the ground up as well, so that women and young girls in LA and California have somebody to root for. And I hope that is the case for every major city.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be exciting to see, that unfold and just have the league grow even more, especially with the Olympics coming up and, the World Cup and everything. So I think everybody's going to be keeping an eye on it. And we'll close out with one more question here, and then we'll go to Q&A. And this may be an obvious one, but what's kind of been the most, your favorite moment of your professional career? And obviously, just having won the championship, that might be the answer. But if there's, whether it being getting drafted or what have it, has there been a moment for you that you really sat back and soaked it in?
I mean, obviously the championship is probably going to be the most memorable of my career. Just like being on the field at the time when the whistle blew and you're like, we did it. We won. We won the championship. And the celebration afterwards where you're in the locker room and everybody's freaking out and your sponsor Budweiser is there and the champagne is popping and spraying everywhere and it gets in your eyes because we didn't have goggles and it stings so horribly. I don't know how people do this and just like continue to react. And then I have my eyes closed in almost every picture. But yeah, it's that moment where it's still clear as day, and you're on the podium and you're looking at absolutely no one in the stands because no one is there. So really you're just looking at your teammates and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This. And it was an incredible moment. And yeah, everything afterwards is just surreal. It's so highlighted and memorable. Honestly, I'll never forget it.
Well, when y'all win the next championship, you can make sure to have goggles so that it doesn't get in your eyes.
Yes, I will definitely keep those on hand. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll toss it over to Q&A, and I'll ask Nicole to read out any questions that have been added to the chat. So, Nicole, if you want to hop in there.
Yeah. So our first question. So I was on the team at UVA, just graduated, and I missed playing in my team. Do you ever think about coaching or training people later?
I do some like individual coaching right now. I mean, obviously not right now because of COVID. We kind of have to limit the contact that we have with other people. But yeah, I know a lot of girls are very, very into coaching on my team. I probably won't pursue the coaching path just because I don't mind doing individual coaching sessions, but I don't know if I have the soccer knowledge that I can pass it down to people in a way that is accurate and understandable. So me trying to coach a team of 10-year-olds or 12-year-olds, I'll probably get very overwhelmed and excited because I just love soccer, and I don't know if they'll really learn anything from me other than have fun. So, yeah.
And then we are getting a ton of questions. This is great. So we have a second one. UVA was academically challenging for me as a non-athlete. What suggestions for time management or success tools did you use to make it through undergrad? And what advice would you give to someone considering playing in college?
Oh, I guess for me, it was just like we didn't get to go out a ton during our fall season, and even like when we did have more time in the spring where we weren't playing games, we were able to have more of a social life. But I would say it's hard, but limiting your social life so that you have blocks of time where you're just grinding out and studying. And I would say like it's not like I studied for hours and hours every day. I would say the studying that I did do was very efficient and just totally focused in on my studying. So going to the BATTEN rooms and study rooms in the basement of Clemens library, that was pretty much what I did. And yeah, it's kind of like tuning out everything else in the world and focusing on school when I had the chance to.
Yeah. And then do you have advice to give to someone considering playing in college?
I would say that it is incredibly possible to do. And I was involved in a lot of organizations outside of soccer and school. So I think that anything you want to do is possible as long as you have the discipline to do it. And it's that staying disciplined and not having the fear of missing out when people are out partying and doing other social events, and just being like, it's time to grind. It's time to grind and focus on schoolwork or focus on whatever organization or anything that you're a part of. And then always having an outlet and having time to pursue that social aspect is, I would say, very important.
Yeah. So our next question, what's your BOTOS order?
Oh my gosh, I haven't had photos and oh my gosh, but I mean, I love BOTOS, don't get me wrong, but I like a good toasted bagel. And I'm from the Northeast, so I know bagels. I would say a solid, just like plain bagel, cream cheese. That's me.
Respectable. So our next question, have you ever had to overcome a serious injury? And if so, what was your recovery like?
I've torn my ACL twice. So for people that don't know what your ACL is, you're one of the biggest ligaments in your knee that pretty much keeps your knee together. And I've torn mine one in each. The first one was my senior year of high school. So I was good to go by the time I got back to college, or my first year in college. And then the second time I tore it was last May. So I unfortunately missed the majority of my second season as a professional athlete. And it was incredibly difficult. I want to say that the mental aspect of it was 100 times harder than the physical aspect. And I learned a lot from it. And I do believe that everything happens for a reason. And it's gotten me to the point where I am today. And it's made me appreciate being a soccer player and living my life to the fullest extent while I'm here in this professional aspect, right? Or professional league at this time.
Yeah. So our next question, do you see yourself playing abroad again in Australia or otherwise?
I mean, I would love to go back to Australia. I think it fits perfectly with our league season. It is during our league's off season. So again, I'd get to play soccer year round, and I just genuinely love the place. I would say I'm open to playing in Europe. I'm kind of just open to wherever soccer will take me. I think that it's beautiful in that way that I can go anywhere in the world and play, and I could have a connection with any person because it's a universal language.
Yeah. And I think getting to our last couple of questions. So we got one. So what is the average age of players in the NWSL? I did a quick Google search and saw it was 28. But a follow-up question to that be, have you had the opportunity for mentorship in the league, not even just with people who are older than you, but even the same age? as you? And have you had a chance to mentor others, or is that, something you're looking forward to do?
I would say that I've had both experiences. So the veterans in our league have been really amazing in terms of setting a standard of professionalism. So they are like, hey, you're a professional athlete and you should demand this quality of life because this is what our sport entails, and you should demand this and not settle for anything less. So it helps give us a bit more of a better outlook on our lives, because I think as a rookie or a younger player in the league, you don't want to ask for too much, and you want to be respectful, and you don't want to step on anybody's toes. But you also need to understand that your life does hold meaning, and you should expect certain things being a professional athlete. So yeah, I guess it's them telling us that we are worth something and that we're valuable, which should be inherent, but you'd be surprised with people's outlooks in their lives here in the league. So that's really helped a lot. And in terms of mentoring others, I say that your rookie year could be really, really challenging, and especially when you have an injury that is season ending. So I've been through both, and I try to be as helpful as I can in terms of both. So especially with the season ending injury, there's nothing like having your life turned upside down in a matter of seconds, and your world is completely different, especially when your life is working out and running every day and you have to learn how to walk again. So it's definitely crushing, and I try to lift that weight a bit with relating to them and helping them in any way that I can.
And I think this may be our final question, unless other people write in, but since you don't think you'd like coaching, what are your post-professional soccer plans, if you have thought that far?
So ideally, I would like to go to law school and pursue a law degree, and then help come back and help our NWSL Union and Players Association better the league. I think that we've had a lot of help from outside legal teams that have been great, but I think it would be very helpful to have somebody that has been in this position and understands where players' rights stand and how the power structure is in our league, and helping facilitate better quality of life for everyone that's in this league at this time, and fighting to make our league as professional as possible, especially when you kind of think that you don't have as many rights as you do.
And then just a quick follow-up, do you have any career aspirations while you're still in the league playing?
In terms of
just goals for the next season, or for yourself?
I would say, yeah, I would love to be, I'm like on the bubble of being a starter versus not, and I would love to solidify a starting spot and be the best player I could possibly be for this team, and hopefully one day maybe make the U.S. women's national team. That I think is every professional women's soccer player that's playing in our league's goal, is to make the U.S. team and to go to the World Cup and go to the Olympics, and then the sky's the limit.
Awesome. Well, that's all we have in the Q&A. Oh, wait, can we see the medal one more time, please?
Yes. Here's the medal. And here's the front. Yeah, it's great. I love it. I didn't take it off for like the first 2 weeks.
That is so awesome. Ben, do you have anything else?
No, I just want to say, thank you for your time, Veronica. We appreciate, everything you've done, at UVA, everything you've done post UVA, and sharing, your experiences with us and your time, with all of the alumni tuning in and, across the world. We truly appreciate it. So thank you so much, and go Who's.
Yes, always go Who's.
All right, thank you everyone for joining. Feel free to check dchwho's.org for future programming events and others. And we appreciate your support, especially during this time. So thank you everyone, and have a great evening.
See you guys.